question and answer period as well, okay? So get ready, ribbon it.
All right, I will begin. As we sing education, we need to meet the student where they're at. So tonight, I'm gonna meet the parents where they're at, and I'm gonna come out here. But anyway, I wanted to go through the first part of our timeline. I want to go through everything that we've done with your daughters since last December. So you get a sense of everything that we've accomplished here, and then we will take it from fall and what awaits you this year and into May of 2025. So first thing, can you all see? Okay. So we're going through the junior year timeline. So what we did is we asked each student, and again, we met with them individually, we met with them in groups, we had some lunchtime workshops, we had college panels here. We had 2 panels during the day, and we had about 5 or 6 colleges each time. We had it during advisory. And then for those of you that went to the college fair in April, we had an evening panel, then followed by the fair. So when we met with the students, we asked them to obviously select and speak to teachers that they would like to have a letter of recommendation written for them. They completed a form, they requested teacher and ambiance, and there are some directions. So they did all that, all right? We started with that. We asked them if they were going to take a test. Obviously, they needed to register for ACTs and SATs. This is extremely important because some schools are bringing back testing, all right? Some schools are still remaining test optional. There are still other schools that are calling themselves test flexible. So as we try to explain to all the students is that you need to check what the school's policy is that you are applying to, because it's obviously extremely important. If test scores are required, then you must submit some, all right? If you have an optional policy, then you have the option to send them or not. And the way I look at that is that if those scores support the rest of your application and your GPA, then you send them. If they don't, then you don't, all right? We had a few counselors here over the summer during app camp, and they said pretty much the same thing. And what you can also do is look on each college site and see what the average range of SAT or ACT scores are. If you find that your scores are within that range, then okay. If they are not, then you have a decision to make, okay? All right, begin a scholarship search. That's key. So hopefully they have done some scholarship searches. I see some smirks. Well, maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But we have posted a number of scholarships. We will continue to do so. It's on their Canvas pages. We've listed them on Naviance. So they're there for the safety. We also went over common app essay topics in English class. All right, the English teachers, the junior English teachers this year were grateful and accepting our request to have every student write an essay. Now I understand not every student did write an essay, but the majority of students did, and they got feedback. And that was our goal, all right? Because we wanted them to come into the summer, whether they came to the app camp or not, but we wanted them to come out of junior year with at least one essay that was looked over and reviewed and ready to go. Because a lot of times, the biggest factor in not submitting an application, I don't have an essay, it's not finished, I'm working on it. So we wanted to remove that obstacle. All right. We did a lot this spring. We also had them do a questionnaire. Ms. McCluskey and myself write a counselor letter of recommendation. Some teacher recommendations are no longer needed. A lot of colleges are doing away with them, but we still want every student to have at least one teacher recommendation. Some schools, depending on where you're applying to, will want 2, but they're also going to want a counselor rec. So we had a student questionnaire that was on Naviance. I still have about a handful of students that haven't completed it yet, but it is necessary for us to write a very insightful counselor letter of recommendation. All right, we also had them update a resume, because again, it helps us in writing a letter. I don't make a habit of writing form letters. I want to do something that's personal, so I want to be able to talk about the student as best I can, all right? All right, so Rising Senior Summer, where we're just completing that. did that as well. We provided them with a list early on, a place to start. As we said, you know, whether we put on 10, 15, 20 schools, for us, it's just a place for them to start a search. Because a lot of people have a hard time starting this process, right? What are we looking for? So we went through that in our meetings. They each met with us several times. We asked you to visit colleges. And either whether you're going on formal tours, that's great. But if you're on vacation and there's a few schools nearby and you want to tour campus, go on campus. All right, and make sure that the admissions office knows that you're there. Because a lot of schools will track interest. All right, so that's always a good thing. Beginning August 1st, we wanted everybody to start a Common App account. Because more than likely everybody in this room, and probably I'm going to go venture to say 100% of the class, will be using the Common App. You can apply to over 1,000 schools using the Common App that are on there. They have a limit of 20, so you can only use one Common App for 20 schools. Not that I'm encouraging everybody to apply to 20 schools. But it's imperative that you start an account. And then update your colleges I'm thinking about list. If it's still the same 20 to 25 schools that were on there in the spring, when you look at it, you're like, oh my goodness, that's a lot. It's like opening up Canvas and reeling all the assignments that you didn't complete yet, all right? This process can fill you with some anxiety. We want to minimize that as much as we can. So go through that list. Sit down with mom and dad and say, look, is this a good fit for me? I don't know. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I want to go that far. So start to take them off your list, all right? And then you'll come down to a more narrow list and you can start from there. Okay, where are we at now? Oh, senior year, during the fall, this is where we begin.
All right, so starting now into the fall, you should be considering keep registering for your SAT or ACT testing. And during your time, you're going to be using your Common App account and Naviance. You will be syncing them together. Because in a way that helps us transfer all your information, whether that's the documents, whether it's your letters of recommendation, school profile, transcripts. That's how we connect and send them out. So how you're going to do that for the students, log on to your Naviance account and you'll select colleges, and then under will be colleges I'm applying to, and then there'll be like a hot pink box right there with a banner that will say to match your accounts, and then you'll follow the directions further along. If applying to colleges not on the Common App, you please make sure to add those colleges that you are applying to on Naviance as well. Once you are matching your accounts, it will transfer over, and then we get to see the schools that you're applying to via your Common App. But if you're not using the Common App, like I said, please make sure that you manually add them as well. And then through that, you'll sign on the Naviance again, selecting colleges I'm thinking about, and adding the schools. So, about transcripts. This will be very important because, again, this is how we're going to be sending your information to the schools that you're applying to. So tonight we will be providing you a transcript authorization form. This form gives Phil permission to release your academic records. Once submitted, students will have the ability to request schools on Naviance. And so probably most likely you'll give us the signed form tonight if both the parent and child are here. But if you're just here as the parent, you can bring it home, have you and your child sign it, and then the child can just bring it back to one of us as soon as they can. You can also just take a picture of it, screenshot, and just email to us as well, whatever's convenient. Once we give you that authorization on Naviance to request a transcript, you're going to select colleges I'm applying to, then select request transcripts. Once the transcript is requested, recommendation letters, forms, and school profile will be sent as well. Again, not all transcripts have to be requested at once. We usually say, once you have applied, then request for them, okay? And then students can check on their request by signing on to Naviance, select colleges, and then select colleges I'm applying to, and then manage transcripts. And then it'll allow you to further on select the schools that you are requesting for, and so forth. We do ask that when you are requesting your transcripts, please, please, please make it 14 days prior to your earliest deadline. So that means if you have an application deadline that is due November 1st, we ask by like October 15th around there to request that transcript. And especially because I would say a lot of students are probably gonna have at least one college with that deadline November 1st. So we wanna have enough time to make sure we send out that information to those schools. Another thing that I would include that was not on here is some schools may require the self-reported academic record, or SRAR. What that means is that the students will take their transcript or report cards and then manually add those grades and classes onto a different website. It's just working as in lieu of a transcript. With that being said, you do not need to request a transcript if that school does require an SRAR.
Can I just?
Yes.
So the schools, Penn State uses it, Temple uses it, University of Pittsburgh uses it, University of Delaware uses it, Clemson. There's over 300 schools, and it's named 5 right there. But be careful, because when you're filling out that SRAR, all right, if you have a November 1st deadline, some schools want that completed and the application by November 1. So each school is going to be different. Some will give you, a little bit of leeway, others will not. So it's imperative that you make sure that you adhere to all the deadline dates. That's why it's always good to always check the college's website.
So it is very unique, and then we would say that we will send a transcript as long as that's the school you're admitted to. So if you are enrolling into, you're accepted in Penn State, you're enrolling into Penn State, then we will be responsible to send that final transcript. That's really the only time they'll receive any documentation of a transcript material. Now, as I mentioned earlier with the request for transcripts, again, we ask that you don't have to do all the requests at once. Take your time as long as once you apply that request. I would mention that on my end, if I see that a student requested, some schools but not all, but I may see that the student has already submitted an application, I will reach out as well just to check in to say, hey, I just want to make sure, is this school, are you applying to that school? And if so, can you please request your transcripts, okay? It's just more so to keep myself a checklist and for you as well. So also during the fall, we will continue having college representatives on Phyllis campus. These rep visits will mostly be held in my room or Mrs. Smith's room. And there will be a calendar posted, I believe, on the, I think it's always Villa, if not, it's on Naviance as well. So take a look on there, you can sign up. Or if you're having trouble, you can always send an email to us saying, I will be there.
It will show up on you'll get the weekly calendars, and it says what's coming up. The colleges will show up from there, but for students to sign up, they will go onto their Naviance accounts, look under colleges, visits, and sign up for a specific school. There are about 64 schools already signed up to come through November, so.
And we also are starting to have representatives come in the spring too. And I know it's a little bit later from by the time you are done applying to schools, but it's always good if there's a rep maybe there that you are maybe accepted to and you want to learn more or talk to them. That's a good opportunity as well. Also during that time, you will be completing your college essays. Again, if you need some assistance to read over your college essays, we are available. You can always send us an email with the attached document. You can ask your English teachers to look it over, your parents because they know you the best. Just some examples to help, feel that your essay, you're satisfied with your essay. Continue visiting colleges if needed. Again, you can visit in person. If there's a college that is a little bit too far, you can also do virtual tours and just stay connected to the admissions rep for that school. And also, you're going to be completing the financial aid forms. FAFSA will be fully available on December 1st of this year. And also the CSS profile. Not all schools require it, but just to be sure, check that school and make sure what the requirements are if they do need a CSS profile. And that will be available October 1st. So on October 2nd at 7 o'clock in the PAC, we're gonna have our financial aid night. Joe Alamo from Gwinnett Mercy, he'll be here talking in fuller details about the FAFSA, CSS profile, and other sources of financial aid. He's very detailed and it's very resourceful, especially if you are doing this for the first time or the third time. He really sits step by step and gives you enough information that you'll need for when the FAFSA is open or rolling. Also during the time, your winter and spring, so applications most likely are in, and it's the waiting game, you know, and waiting to see what the decisions will be. So during the winter and spring, Villa will be sending your mid-year transcripts to all colleges on behalf of the student applicants. Again, you'll be still finishing any financial aid forms, passing the CSS profile, continue scholarship search and applications. I know Ms. Smith mentioned earlier, but I really want to highlight that this year, especially the local scholarships, they're gonna be posted on campus through the senior 2025 class group. And under the modules, there'll be a scholarship link. So I will be making sure that all of them are listed. They'll probably have a link or an application attached to it. And then also during the time, you'll review acceptance letters and financial aid offers as they come in. So it's a little small, but if you can see that we do ask for a copy or a PDF of your acceptances and scholarship offerings, it's really more so that way we can keep in check to see, okay, what was that decision from that student? And of course, money is helpful, right? So when you do receive that letter or letters, please send them to our counseling email address, okay? And then also, if you can, attend acceptance students days at your accepted schools. So during your spring, you should submit or have your decision on where you're gonna be enrolling by May 1st.
The only exception to that is if you do early decision, you're gonna need to accept and submit 2 weeks after you get your decision. Alright?
And some of you may know sooner, but a lot of the colleges, especially for like early actions and regular decisions, need it by May 1st. So you'll decide on college and attendance and notify other schools where you're being accepted that you will decline their offer, especially towards schools that if you are applying as an early decision. If you are accepted with an early decision, you must let the other colleges know that you have to withdraw from those applications. Same as if you decide to just be accepted to a school by May 1st, you have to let the other schools know. It's very helpful for maybe those that might be on the wait list. They may have been accepted, they have to be on the wait list. And if you withdraw, then it helps, you know, other students to be notified of maybe they have a chance to be enrolled in. On Naviance, under the colleges I'm applying to, there's a little tab that says attending college or I'm attending, and it's like a drop box. Please select the school that you'll be applying to. It helps us, especially for graduation pamphlets, and you get to write where you're attending. And then they'll send your final transcript to the college you're attending by the end of June 2025. So right here, we listed our contact information. Again, this information is on our school website, but if you would like to take a photo, we're also gonna be sending these slides to you through email, and the video as well should be posted on our school's website.
And we'll also add about self-reported academic record. Also, I feel like we just took a quick trip to May of 2025. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So this was a version here. So now we're gonna assume that you have some questions, and then we can take it back and go slower. But this is everything that you're all gonna be working with through this year, all right? It is a lot. People before you have done it, people after you will do it, and we'll get you through it every step of the way. But there is a lot. You know, I always tell this, I used to tell this story. When I wanted to go to college, my father said, pick one and go. And that was the process, all right? No longer. There's a lot to do. And so, please just know that if you want to come in and have a meeting with us, please feel free to do so, all right? No question is a silly question. If you're doing this for the first time, or the third time, or the 5th time, all right? There's still things that have changed, and we want you to feel as comfortable. And again, we can't eliminate all the stress, but we can try to manage it and manage it through with you.
I'm not sure if I brought it up earlier, but the seniors will be meeting individually with one of us beginning next week. We're gonna open that up. So my lovely seniors, please be on the lookout for an email for Sign Up Genius to sign up for your appointment. Again, they're as early as next week and they'll continue on. And again, if you need to stop down, just reach out and say, ask if you can come down at a certain time or period, or usually at the end of the day when everybody's running down for questions. Whatever is possible and helpful for you. And again, parents, if you need to, or feel like you need to have like a meeting one-on-one or with your child, you can always reach out to us too.
So, questions? Let's start. First off, we had a great, oh, yes.
The FAFSA, it opens up December 1st.
Correct.
When is it due?
That's gonna be dependent on the individual schools that you're applying to.
Okay.
But, you know, my advice is always to get it done as soon as you can. They're gonna be testing it in different parts of the country, starting in October, but the full rollout will happen on December 1st. So you may get an email or get something that says, hey, we're in the test area, and you can start to fill it out. So be prepared for that, right?
Okay, so you can get it done as early as possible and just be done with it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you're using last year's taxes, which you've already completed.
And the same goes to the CSS profile. If the school requires it, they will have a deadline as well.
Correct.
It opens up on October 1st, so
Yes,
it's
that's
not a
correct.
deadline by the end of October. It's like the same thing.
Well, it could be, and again, not every school has that financial aid form required, but they will list it on there when it is due. Deadlines are key, all right? If you have to figure out, the whole key to this process is staying organized. And I know a lot of people kind of, chuckled before when I said the Common App allows you to apply to 20 schools. And for some people, that works. But remember, with 20 schools, you've got 20 application portals to keep up with, all right? You've got 20 schools that you've got to make sure that forms got to them if you're sending test scores. There's a lot, all right? Had a number of students last year come up with a spreadsheet, which was great and very helpful. But remember, even if you're applying to 20 schools and you're looking for the best deal, at the end, you're still gonna have to make a decision. So it's good to narrow down and really, apply to schools that if they say, hey, you're in, you're like, yes, I really wanna go there, all right? So how many can tell me the difference between early action and early decision? Yes,
I think early decision is binding, early
It is.
action is non-binding.
that's correct. What about restrictive early action? Anybody know what that is? Yes,
Restrictive is where, at least where I saw it with a private school, you can apply only to private institution, but you can still apply to public institutions.
correct. Now, but some of them are very different in the way they approach that. So again, if you are applying to a school that you're doing REA, make sure you understand what the parameters are for that, okay? Let's see. We did a bingo game with, to open up App Camp this year, and they did very well. But again, it's all new vocabulary. It's like learning a foreign language, all right? But every, email they receive, that you receive, anything that's on their portal is gonna have a lot of this language, and so we wanna make sure that you understand what it is that they're sending you.
We have a question too. Right here.
Okay.
That's-
I'm sorry.
So our son is in college, so we're familiar with FAFSA.
Yeah.
That seems like a very late deadline, and I know the issues that they've had with it. So my question is, she's gonna apply for early action to 9 schools.
Mhm.
Will we get that acceptance but no financial aid information?
So the FAFSA is only for need-based aid. There's merit aid, and when you saw that last slide where we're asking you to send in your merit award letters, all right? Merit is based on, your grades, whether it's test scores you submitted, athletics, whatever. All right, FAFSA is only concerned about need-based aid. So it comes from, the finances of the student and the family. So really, it should not affect that. You would probably get an additional award letter in the spring, all right, after they've processed your FAFSA.
Okay, this follow-up. So
Yep.
Yeah.
There is one school that is requesting the CSS.
Okay.
Do I, is it better to wait and see if she's actually gonna be accepted before I take the time to fill it out, or just fill it out and?
I would fill it out.
And some schools may need that CSS profile to be completed even before decisions are made.
And it's a lot, and I put 3 students through, and one was the CSS profile. It can be a little intrusive, and sometimes they ask for verification of things, and, I feel like I'm sending everything, so it's a lot. Even, I think the students found out when filling out the Common App during camp, they're asking a lot about parents, and they're asking a lot about, what was the degree they got, what are they doing? And again, it doesn't have anything to do with applying to schools. It's just data that they are collecting. Intrusive, but yes. Any other questions? Did anybody submit? Did anybody start an application other than the people that went to app camp? Okay. Anybody submit? That's good. So we are gonna start sending out transcripts once we start to receive your requests, but we're gonna wait until after the drop add period at school is over. All right, and the reason we do that is, if you're coming the first 2 weeks, you're like, yeah, I thought I was gonna like this course and now I don't. We don't wanna send something out and then all of a sudden you change, because now you've gotta go back and you've gotta edit your application. And it becomes a little bit trickier if you've already submitted. It just adds a few more phone calls. No, we want questions.
Will you be supplying an unofficial transcript if we have to do the assessment?
Oh, absolutely, yes, absolutely. And that's as simple as, sending us an email, can you send us an unofficial transcript? And again, unofficial is something that comes from you, to the school, the student, whatever. Official is always from one institution to another institution, so from school to school. Okay, but you will need that for the SRAR. And actually the students during app camp needed it as well for the common application, okay? Is everybody clear on the testing policies? All right, just wanna make sure, yeah, is that a hand raised back there? Just waving at me, what?
Dawn, could you repeat that one more time, the testing policy?
The testing sure. All right, so if the school that you're applying to requires testing, all right, SAT or ACT, then you must send them. You do not have a choice, all right? And some schools are coming back to that policy. The other one is test optional. So you have an option depending on, if you think your scores support the rest of your application, meaning that they're commensurate with your GPA, you've looked at the school's website, and you see that your scores fall within the range that they've had before. You can also call the admissions office and say, look, I understand you've got test optional, this is where I'm at, what do you suggest I do? Okay? There's test flexible, which a lot of schools have started now, so if you're not gonna take an SAT or ACT, all right, you can submit an AP score if you want. Again, it's test flexible, so they're taking whatever you're gonna send them, all right? So maybe you scored, you took AP test and you scored really well, and it's a test flexible policy, so then you can send them those. But traditionally, AP scores are not used in the admissions process. These are exceptions to the rule, not the rule itself. Okay. Does that help? Okay. Yes?
Test optional going away in the next few years?
It's hard.
Or that?
It's hard to say. A lot of the highly selective schools are requiring tests again. I think that, it's always, they collect data and they do research and they decide whether or not, the students that they have, whether they submit test scores or not, are up to the standards of that university. So, again, you could throw a dart and say, yes, yeah. Yeah.
For the girls who are going to their freshman year now in college,
Mm-hmm.
the duals that are enrolled in the dual enrollment courses,
Mhm.
were they all accepted for the schools they're going to, or is there not let that out?
I haven't heard any that were not. We heard some that had to submit, from the specific things. So again, when you're doing dual enrollment, all right, and for us, it was taking courses at Holy Family, you have to know that locally, everybody's very familiar with Holy Family. They know their program, they know our program. So they're more than likely to accept them, all right? But again, you have to have a C or better. You go down to Florida, California, the Midwest, they may or they may not. I mean, we cannot say, you know, if they're going to, because they're just not familiar with the school, right? But I haven't heard of anyone that hasn't gotten accepted.
No, nothing towards anything with acceptances or, their decision. I would say that, and as a suggestion as well, when you do reach out to your admissions reps, or you come to the visits, or do tours, you know, it does not hurt to ask, and see what is their policy on students who may be taking, dual enrollment courses, and how does it benefit them? Because some schools may take the credit, or, may put it as in like, in lieu of like maybe an elective, or some may not take it at all. So it's always good to ask. And the same thing goes to AP courses as well.
Absolutely, yeah. All I know is we've had a few requests, people had to contact the teacher to get syllabi sent. So, schools. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as AP scores go, those are submitted only to the school that you're actually going to
Yes.
attend, and those go from college board
Exactly.
to the school.
And they can go.
Do we pay for them to send? Sorry.
No. Yes, but there is a free period where, you know, College Board, and I don't wanna sound jaded, you know, will give you a timetable. But it's usually before you get those scores back. And so you can send them for free. Actually, when we do, the AP testing, there's a part on the answer sheet where you can put in the code for the school that you will be attending, okay? But yes, more than likely, a lot of students will wait because they wanna see what score they're gonna get, and then they will send them.
And at that time, when we do AP testing, it'll already be post decision date deadline anyway, so.
Yeah, this is just for,
Right.
you know, if you have to take an elective
Right.
or, you know, coming out of a core subject.
But yes, it really, the AP score will be useful for the school that you are enrolling into. But as we mentioned earlier with the flexible testing, you could use the score as well, part of your, as a requirement if they ask for it.
I think it was, we did that webinar the other day, I think it was probably Harvard, Yale, that have a test flexible policy, so. Go right ahead, they're unlimited tonight, unlimited.
I know that there are certain schools, states, et cetera, that have like a free day when you can send your application and not pay the fee. Do you guys have information on that? You can tell the student like, hey, this state is free today.
No, and I had never heard that. Now, when they attend an open house, they'll get a
Certain
code.
states have days
Interesting.
that it's like your application is free.
Interesting.
just submit it.
Well, you know what, I'll Google search it after, yeah, 'cause no one has ever asked that question.
Right.
And, yeah, never had that experience.
I didn't see that as well. I didn't see.
Yeah, I just like, I know in terms of, like, for example, say New York, like, whatever day you can submit for free. I just don't know if that only applies to the student from within New York.
Right.
Oh,
Or,
right, so
you
you're
So
know,
it
like,
could be like
there's
in-state.
other states that do it, I don't
You're
know
saying this is
how it works.
a state, school directive, or is this for any private or state?
It sounds like it's any school, but
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I took it as
Interesting.
but I don't know.
Interesting, thank you.
Definitely look more into that,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah,
free money doesn't. Yeah.
yes.
With the fee, they also, like one school told us to have the counselor contact their admissions counselor.
Okay.
Is that something that you're doing?
We've done that. Also, we've had students, when they fill out the Common App, request one on there. There is a chart where that you can see, you know, you make the financial, cut, whatever, but they can request one on Common App, and then it comes up on our screen, and we can, okay, it there, yes. Questions, I know they're out there. Yes.
I'll just mention, I know with all the mail, I don't think I've ever seen so much mail coming in for the college students. QR codes are on a lot of those mailers for free submission,
Free applications,
yes.
okay. So there's another way to take advantage of that.
Hang on to your mail.
Again, as reps have told me in the past, we don't make our money on the applications. Any other questions? About GPAs, I don't know. And again, with the self-reported academic record, know that the student is putting down, we use letter grades, so they're putting in the letter grade. Alright, so it's an A minus, because whatever. They're not putting in the value of that A. Alright? Because the whole point of the SRAR is so that colleges can, fairly and equitably review each student. Because there are high schools across this country that are on a 10.0 scale. And some like us that are on a 4.0, or a 5.0, or a 6.0. So they're trying to, bring everybody together so you can compare apples to apples, rather than apples to oranges, okay?
I just have a question about that.
Yes.
So do they take that into consideration, the fact that, the little weight, it's a heavier weight to each grade when they apply, so they realize that it's more stringent, like what an A minus is here, whereas it would probably still be an A in another school?
Not, so when you're filling out the traditional common application or a college's application, not the SRAR at this time, all right, so we send a profile, and on the profile shows our whole grade scale, and you can see that, it's on our website now. And so you can see the different weighting for AP, honors, and college prep, all right? Every course here is college prep, and if it's more rigorous, it'll be designated with an honors or AP designation. Now, on the SRAR, there's no distinction other than you telling them, oh, I took an honors calculus, or I took an honors this, all right? Because right now what they wanna do is, they wanna see that everybody got A's or B's or C, whatever that is, and they determine what the value of that is. Okay. Any other questions? How many is this the first time? Okay. I hope to see you come in, email us, please, all right? It's scary enough. You know, I started this a long time ago before our kids were going through it, and then when they were, I would hear other parents talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, calm down, you know, you do this. But it is nerve-wracking, but it's all so doable, and again, you just have to stay organized. It is all so doable. How many have an essay written? No, mom and dad, put your hands down. All right, great. Now, you may have to do additional ones, yes.
My daughter was can't, and I was just wondering, she said that the, recommendation letters weren't ready for,
For teacher recommendations?
I believe so.
We didn't ask teachers to upload them on Naviance till after August 1st, because Naviance does a reboot over the summer, and we had an incident a few years ago where teachers uploaded it before and erased everything. So, I haven't checked, but if they're not ready, we told them that they had to be done by September 15th.
Yep.
Which is right around the time that transcripts will be finalized.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so after, she doesn't tell me a lot, but like after the camp, what's the next step for them? Just get their essay together?
Well, if that's part of the application, yes. So if they haven't completed that essay, or if they need to write an additional one, because like the Common App has about 6 essay prompts, and they will go to every school that you apply to, all right? So I always told them, be careful. Do not say, oh, I really love Fairfield University, and then it's going to Villanova, because Villanova's not gonna be impressed. So keep names of schools out of that general essay, all right? If you are applying to Fairfield, and they ask you additional questions, that's when you can lay on the charm about how much you enjoy Fairfield or Villanova or whatever school it is, all right? But on those other essays that pretty much everybody requires, they should be more general and broad in scope.
And they should be done by what's the final date?
Well, there is no final date, it's when they want to submit, yes. So if they've got November 1st, then it should be done before that, so it can be reviewed, and, yeah. Yes?
So when I understand they put the essay onto the Common App, but if a school has an additional requirement, like my friend's son applied to the University of Alabama, they wanted 4 other essays. Yay! Will that, like when they click on the school or what have you, will it alert them, or how will they know?
So in each of the app, like part of the Common App, just for example, with the applications, within each school, we'll have that list of requirements they'll have. So we'll have a text box for the short supplementals, and then probably further along, it'll have that essay. So each school will be unique, but it will tell you which
Gotcha.
ones are,
Perfect.
gonna be needed.
And you'll also on the Common App, you get green check marks, all right? And if you don't have a green check mark, doesn't matter how many times you press that submit button, it's not going anywhere. Because the green check marks indicate that every section of that application for that school is complete.
Plus it helps visually to remember, oh, I need to go back into
Right.
there and fill this out.
Got it, thank you. There were some questions about FERPA and students waiving their rights to read, the teacher's recommendations. And so what we always advise is that they do waive their rights. But we did suggest that they come home and talk to you about that. I just wanna make sure that they understood what that is, all right? When you waive your right, and we know that, teachers know that, the colleges know that, it gives the impression that the letter was written authentically, that the student had no influence on the letter whatsoever, or we had an influence on it. If you do not waive, it may give the impression that that because the student did not waive their rights, that the teacher may not have written, or we may not have written as authentically as we could have. Again, it's a perspective. That's bound by FERPA, which you'll all find out if you don't have a student in college now, you'll know what FERPA is. You won't be able to have access to much of anything unless your student gives you permission. Yes.
When they submit through the Common App, could they, like, say they have 10 schools, can, on Monday, I submit to 2, and then 2 weeks later, submit to 3 more, do they all have to go at the same time?
No, she can submit whenever she's ready to.
So like I mentioned earlier about with how each school has their own unique additional information needed, on their last subject, it will have review and submit. So you can send it individually to each of those
Yes.
schools.
And then prepare to have a credit card, if you don't have a code. How are we doing for time? I know, you have the next.
It's quarter up.
Okay, and your presentation's at 7, so, all right.
So one last question.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
back to, waiving their rights. Where do they send it for? Or is that?
Oh, that's on the common application,
Okay.
yes. It's when they add schools to their list, again, it'll be on the left-hand side, and it'll say FERPA and recommenders. Oh, which brings up another point, it'll be there, all right? For recommenders, so if we weren't a Navion school, all the students would be asking, the teachers and us, they would be putting our names and email addresses on that recommender site. But what we told everybody is that because we are a Navion school, that's where all the letters are going. So if you want an employee of Villa Joseph Maria High School to write you a letter, do not list them on the Common App. We have taken care of that through Navions. But if you have a coach who's outside of Villa, you have an employer who's outside of Villa, anybody who's outside of Villa that's gonna write a letter for you, you can put their name and email address there, and then Common App sends a confidential link to them, they fill it out, and then submit it on the student's behalf. All right, but if the letter writer is at Villa, they do not list them there. Okay?
So how important is it to have non-Berlin employees as a recommender?
It really all depends what the school wants.
So,
Yeah.
so on, each of the schools, depending on what their requirements are, they'll let you know how many exactly of teachers and if they do need a counselor, and then they'll have optional additional letters, so that would be beneficial to use, maybe a coach, or if it's their boss, or, any person of that interest.
But not every school is gonna do that, but they will list and tell you how much they need.
It's always good to, not, it'll mention it on the Common App, but it's always good to double check on that school's website too, just to be sure.
More questions? That was a good one, because then it brought in other recommenders, so.
Alright. So, as I mentioned sent to you through email. There was a recording, so it will be posted on the school's website. And also before you leave, or if you're staying, we do have that transcript authorization form down here in pens. So if you can, please come down and collect it and take it home, or if you have your student here, you can sign it now and just keep it here. Again, if you are just here as a parent and the student's not here, please take it home, have you and the student sign it, and have the student return it to one of us as soon as they can. Or again, you could just take a picture of that form and email it to us. Okay. But thank you all for coming in
Yeah.
tonight, or starting early before the really big presentation.